And a big round of applause again for Mike Stiggy. I think you broke, Mike Stiggy, at least 2 world records in the last 10 minutes. The world record for the most uses of the word innovation in a hip-hop song. So we should make sure we check that. And it's probably the first ever hip-hop song with the word decentralization in it. So what a great way to open Mozfest. Thank you. This is, as I probably say every year at this moment, the best moment of the year for me. To be starting a weekend with 1,800 people who are all dedicating their lives to making the digital world a better place. It is really an exciting and a wonderful 2 days we get together. It brings me through the year and gives me energy and inspiration. And often when I get to this moment, and certainly last night, I get a little reflective on sort of Mozfest past. And this is the 9th Mozfest. So I was thinking back, like, what was it we were talking about 9 years ago? What were some of the themes, and what was the festival about when we did our first festival in Barcelona? And so I went last night and I looked back at the wiki, which you can go and see the incredibly wonkily coded schedule for Mozfest 2010, which was called the Drumbeat Festival. But I also kind of looked around at the news, and I looked at the tech news, and I thought, what were the big tech stories? What was going on in the world as we did that first Mozfest? The number 1 tech story of the year, it was very exciting, very thrilling. And I checked like a lot of sources. This was consistently the number 1 tech story of the year. The release of the iPad. How boring is that? And so it's very different than the tech headlines of today, of course. And I think it was also a time where people, it was kind of boring. There was just tech news. People liked a lot of what was coming out of Silicon Valley without much question. It certainly was the beginning of the erosion of the web by the app economy starting to accelerate. But it wasn't, tech news wasn't really news. But there were a number of us, many of us in the room, whether we were at Mozfest or not, who felt like there's a bigger conversation that was needed to think about where we wanted to take the digital world that might be different than the iPad or different than what was emerging with Facebook, which was rapidly accelerating that year. And think about, what is it that's the digital world we want? Think a little bit harder about that. Think about the link between technology and humanity, and think about what we wanted to do about it. And that's really the genesis of the Mozilla Festival, and a lot of where we have all come from, a lot of where Mozilla has focused in that last almost a decade. And so that first Mozilla Festival happened really with that question about the link between technology and humanity and happiness. How do we build from sort of the roots of and the spirit of open source, but into bigger and other efforts of human endeavor? And how do we make that link between technology and humanity? And so we got together in a set of art galleries and in a square in Barcelona. We picked a theme called Learning, Freedom, and the Web, and we just started to collaborate and make things and hatch plans. And that has been the spirit of Mozfest ever since. People who are passionate about these issues, who want to see a better digital world and a better world, getting together to ask questions about what's wrong, what's right, and what can we do about it. And so that's certainly the spirit I invite you to bring here this weekend. And in that intervening 9 years, one of the things that experience has told us is there is a link between technology and humanity, the internet and humanity, and how we want things to work out. And that's not only just been our experience, but at Mozilla we have started to reflect on that. And I want to call out one thing as we go into this year's Mozfest, because there's going to be some chances to engage with this, is at Mozilla we've done a bunch of reflection in the last years about how it's not just technology that we need to be focused on, but also the human experience of the internet. And so this year in March, we released an addendum to the 10-year-old Mozilla Manifesto on the 10th anniversary of Mozilla, or of the manifesto. And the 15th anniversary of Mozilla.org. And it not only reaffirmed our commitment to things like openness, privacy and security, the idea that the internet should enrich all human life and the life of all human beings, which have always been what the manifesto is about. But it expanded the scope of where Mozilla is focused to commit to the idea that the internet needs to be one that is inclusive and welcoming of all people of the earth, no matter how they identify or who they are or where they're from. That the internet needs to be a place that actually uplifts facts and critical thinking. And importantly, and very much in the spirit of Mozfest, that we as Mozilla really want to focus on collaboration between diverse communities working for the common good. And that isn't what we feel on the internet today fully. The internet certainly is still full of many wonderful things, but we've also seen it divide, exclude, and fuel hate. And so I really want to call that out because what's changed in that 9 years since the first Mozfest certainly is not what I think many of us have wanted to work on, but that Mozilla has grown to say that scope of making technology better for humanity and that how technology fuses into our world is a part of what Mozilla really cares about and a part of what Mozfest is about today. And you'll see that in many aspects of Mozfest, but just one thing to call out, the Queering Mozfest track, which has been added this year, and is focused on how technology connects into normalization and marginalization. It really is exciting to see that added, and it's something you should check out, and that Steph is going to come up here and talk about in a few minutes. So that is an important change, and Mitchell's going to talk about the addendum and the manifesto changes tomorrow, we hope. So go and check out her talk around in the middle of the day or later in the afternoon, actually, I think. It's probably one of the last talks downstairs. So the other thing that has changed since 2018 is the headlines. Tech headlines are different. It is not the release of the iPad XXXZ, well, it may be very exciting and is just around the corner, that is going to be the top tech headline of 2018. We all know what those headlines are going to be, unless it gets worse, which is hard to imagine. We all know that it's going to be Cambridge Analytica, or the fast end of net neutrality in the US, or the horrible role that Facebook played in the genocide in Burma. Technology is in a very different spot in the headlines and in reality. And it means that the work we all need to do is that much more important. The world needs us more, and the world needs more of us. Now, of course, there actually have been some good tech headlines. Rarely in 2018. Rarely have four letters, the letter G, the letter D, the letter P, and the letter R, made such headlines as we have seen in 2019. And that is actually a silver lining in terms of the work we have all done for 10 or 20 or 30 years on some of these issues. And it's not just that the GDPR is in headlines and it's something we can leverage here in Europe, but that idea of data protection laws is gaining steam in places like India, and Amba will come up and talk about that in a moment. But also that the public and governments are looking at these topics. And so we have a real foothold right now, as well as a real set of pressures and crises. And that's the reason we picked up this data theme this year, is to look at how do we grab that foothold. And you saw some of that last night at the science fair, whether it was the very cool data detox kit or the privacy not included buyer's guide, which is a fun way to kind of connect to the idea of data and toys and making better choices. And by the way, you can win prizes if you fill in the buyer's guide, so I'm supposed to plug that. As well as the incredible great tracked game, which we saw previewed last night, and you can go plug into up there, which is about choosing to be a tracker or be tracked as you move across the internet. So that's a theme that we had because it's interesting, because it's topical, but really because we have a foothold right now as we look at the connection of data to whatever work we are all doing here as something that structures power, structures our relationships, structures our lives. We have an opportunity really to make a leap forward that we didn't 10 years ago, but that we have been building the foundations of. And so I really invite you to use Mozfest as a chance to together grab that foothold, certainly have some fun, as we always do, but really get out there and rock it and plan things, as we have always in the spirit of Mozfest from the beginning, that we can do together through the year and come back next year and show a much better set of headlines than the ones we've seen in 2018. So thank you very much. And just to give you a quick sense of what's coming up next, my colleague Amba is going to come talk a little bit about her personal journey in relationship to some of these data themes. Steph is going to come talk about Queering Mozfest. Gunnar, unsurprisingly, will be up here to tell you about how to operate Mozfest. We'll hear a bit from a couple of the Wranglers. But most important, especially for any of you up on any of these balconies, please start coming down now during these talks because the all-important group photo will be happening. And if you happen to be having any empty chairs between you here, please squeeze in so that these folks can come down. Because in less than 30 minutes, possibly 22.5 minutes, a photo will be taken. There will be a fox here, and you'll want to be in it. So please do come down. And for now, Amba.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Amba, and I won't tell you what I do yet because that's the last bit of the talk. So this is actually, last year was my first Mozfest. It was also my first month as a Mozilla Fellow. And well, as some background, what I do as my day job, so to speak, is that I think about and I advocate for the laws that we need or we might need for the web that we want. And what that means is that I spend a lot of my time looking at what you might think are very dry legal texts in and out of government offices, and often at conferences on panels with dudes in suits. So when I came to Mozfest, I was like, whoa, this is kind of intimidating, but it's also really inspiring. It was inspiring because in some ways I think I've been part of this sort of broader movement for internet health for some years now, but I didn't really have a sense of what people meant when they said the Mozilla community. And it was only last year that I actually had a feel for it, and I also started to feel a part of it. Yeah, so let me, and it's interesting because at that time, there was, just last year, last October, there was a lot of things that were going on back home on the issues that I care about. So I'll start with Aadhaar, which hopefully many of you have already heard about, but that's the Indian government's national ID project. It was an ID project that kind of assigned every Indian resident with a 12-digit number, and that 12-digit number was connected to your biometrics, your fingerprints, your iris scans, that kind of thing. But what Aadhaar did was that it really started a broader conversation about privacy in India. Because people started asking, we have this one identifier that's kind of following us through public services, more and more private companies are demanding it. Is this not going to create tracking, profiling that's accessible to the government? There was also a separate question, which was, is our data, all our sensitive information in this one centralized database actually safe? And so with Aadhaar, what we saw in India was that the conversation about data protection was not about protecting data, but it was really about protecting people. And from that realization, actually, we finally saw the government almost forced to act and to realize that we didn't actually have any legal protections for privacy in India, and they had to do something. Now, during the course of my fellowship, I was actually privileged to have the support to continue the kind of work that I had been doing for the years before. But I also had the privilege of being able to step out of this comfort zone. So specifically, I got to work with Mozilla's amazing consumer advocacy team and also with their community engagement team. So sometime early into my fellowship, we did these set of meetings with community members in India. And I mean, I already see some of you here, but India is definitely one of Mozilla's largest communities, and I think it might be one of the most vocal for sure. And so it was really cool because we did these meetings, and we were trying to get a sense of, does the community in India care about privacy? Do they want to what do they feel about it? And what we heard from them is that they not only cared about privacy in India, they actually wanted to be more involved in this policy fight, and they wanted to act. And so pretty soon after that, from one of these meetings, we had this idea to write an open letter from Mozilla to the Indian government about what was the law that we wanted. And a letter that we all worked together to prepare was eventually published as a full-page advertisement in one of India's largest leading newspapers. It was signed by Mitchell Baker and thousands of Mozilla community members. And nothing like this had really been tried before, and I know from my meetings with government officials that they definitely did take notice. So around the same time, there was also, like I mentioned, Aadhaar was constantly being required by all kinds of private companies, and it wasn't clear why they needed that information. So we asked. So Mozilla's advocacy team actually ran a campaign where they asked why Amazon, for example, required an Aadhaar number to track a lost package. Amazon very quickly after that campaign retreated this requirement, and they kind of removed it and said it was no longer mandatory. And we've had many of these similar kinds of incremental victories just in the last year. So I think just this month it was that the Indian Supreme Court said that, look, Aadhaar cannot be used for unlimited private uses. This has to be limited. This has to be regulated. And actually, that data protection law that I talked to you about, we have a draft law out in the public, and it might go to the Indian Parliament as soon as this winter. So in a sense, a lot has moved, and again, this law is not perfect, and we continue to advocate for changes. In fact, I personally am now advocating on behalf of Mozilla. So I recently joined Mozilla's amazing policy team, and I get to speak up as a tech company that believes that privacy and innovation are not at odds and is not afraid to advocate for strong law. And so this is kind of amazing in many ways, but I think personally, it's been kind of awesome to see this privacy fight on so many fronts, in the products that we build, in the policies that we advocate for, in the campaigns that we run, and finally in this community. So I'm really, really privileged to be here. And I will just quickly plug before I hand off to Stephanie. Tomorrow at 3:30, if I'm not mistaken, 3:30 to 5, we're going to run 2 sessions on Aadhaar and data protection. And if you want to hear me talk more about data protection, then at 11:15 in the dialogues and debates room. Thank you so much.
Good morning, welcome to Mozfest, and welcome to the Queering Mozfest experience. So, you all know what a lens is, right? A lens is a piece of glass that allows you to look at the world in a different way. With the Queering Mozfest experience, we're presenting you with a special kind of lens. A queering lens. A queering lens allows you to look at the world from the perspective of people who have been marginalized because they experience gender and sexuality differently. Take a queering lens, use a good, honest light, and look at ordinary things around you. Look at what you do every day. Look at what people say every day. Look at the way you dress. Look at the way you walk. How close two people are standing to each other when they're talking. Listen to the first questions you ask when you meet a person. Listen to the first question you ask when your baby is born. Now, take a step back and pause and ask yourself, is it ordinary? Is it normal? Could it be done differently? And what would that change? The trans and feminist activist Julia Serrano uses the concept of being marked. She argues that some people, because they look or behave differently, look out of the ordinary, they look exceptional, and hence they are being marked. Let's take an example. You are at a party and you're meeting a person for the first time, and you ask her what she's doing for a living. And she tells you, well, I'm a teacher. If you've been at school, if you're used to be around teachers, then it won't seem out of the ordinary. Now, she tells you, I'm a sex worker. If she's the first person you know who tells you that she's a sex worker, there are high chances that you're going to mark this person as being out of the ordinary from your perspective. Queer people in our societies are being marked as privileged targets for discrimination and violence. And this goes beyond gender and sexuality. People of color, people with mental or physical disabilities, poor people are queer bodies. And queer bodies can be tracked, measured, monitored, so they can be controlled and even eliminated. In that story, technology and the internet play a role. And it has two ages. Technology can be an ally for us to connect, to meet, to organize together, but it can also be a tool for normalization and repression. So this year, with the Queering Mozfest experience, queer activists, technologists, designers, and artists are going to share their perspective and challenge the way we think about bodies and how technology can impact it. Throughout the weekend, they will lead sessions on each floor and each space, and you are very welcome to attend. In addition to that, we have a dedicated queering space right up there on the 6th floor balcony. And if I had to give you one reason to come and say hi to us, that we have a 6 feet tall unicorn that you can see saying hello to you right now. So really don't be shy, come and say hi to us. I wish you an excellent festival, and now Gunnar is going to come on stage. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning, Mozfest. Pretty good. I want to apologize for the idle state that we are in right now. We're going to get active soon and get interactive as quick as we can. And I'm going to make an unreasonable ask to you wallflowers around the edge of the room. Please visualize coming toward the center. You can start inching there now, but it'll make the group photograph go more smoothly soon. I just want to honor these people already modeling. Friends, we are here this week to be good to one another. As Mark pointed out, this is a time of complexity and non-positivity in many parts of the internet, but you are in a building full of people that care about a healthy, inclusive, equitable, open internet, and let us spend this weekend being in solidarity, teaching, sharing, building new friendships, and otherwise building the most healthy internet today and moving forward. To do that, we ask that you honor our participation guidelines. I'm going to run through them quickly. They are in a longer form on the website, and in documents that are available all around the building. But let me summarize key ways in which you can be good to one another at this event. 3 ways to show respect. Our overall ask is simple. Demonstrate respect for everyone here in all ways, at all times. I hope that's clear. 3 specific ways you can be respectful. Please help us stay on time. I love our espresso rock stars. Can we get some love for the people making the coffee? Yeah. Thank you, and thank you. But there's a thing that happened called the 45-minute queue. And if you're at the 45-minute mark in the queue, you get to your session late and you make it hard on your facilitators. Please help us stay on time. Other ways to show respect: let this be a weekend of listening and learning from one another. Interrupting other folks when they talk is a party foul. Show respect, let others finish what they're saying, be good to those who are sharing thoughts and asking questions. And finally, has anyone here ever been trapped in a religious debate over open versus free, or iOS versus Android, or something where people should not be fighting to the death? Have people been there? Anybody? Survivors? Let us agree to disagree. Let us lay down our Linux variants disagreement and just be in solidarity around a healthy internet. These are ways to show respect. How can we keep this inclusive? I apologize for being an ugly American who speaks the English language too quickly. Let us remember how many people here speak English as a second or a 10th language. Let us speak slowly and clearly, and let us not throw jargon shade. Has anyone ever been in a meeting where someone used a big word just to take over, threw an acronym out there, 57 word? Yeah, it's like, no. Let us use the simplest language that we can use to be good to one another and keep things inclusive. Friends, someone here is a monologuer. I'm a recovering monologuer myself. When you speak, make 1 point in these groups. In a room of N people, speak 1/nth of the time. We want equitable conversation bandwidth where all voices are heard. Overall, friends, questions are acts of heroic leadership if they are not passive-aggressive. And we really encourage you, we beg of you, step outside your normal comfort zone. What do you do at big events like this in your normal comfort zone? You get with your people and you snark about things like, oh, the swag, this is not 100% fair trade wool. I can't believe it. Walk up to a stranger and snark about the swag. Find the friends that you have not yet met. Build the relationships you can only build in a live, interactive format like this. Overall, this event is designed to honor constructive selfishness. Please get what you came for, but do it in a way that helps others get what they came for. If at any point you do not feel safe, you do not feel respected, or in any way you feel harassed, the name tag has contact information on the back. There's an email address, there's a phone number, and if anybody wants to talk to us and suggest other contact channels, we welcome them. We are learning with you as we try to keep this the safest, most inclusive Mozfest we possibly can. Let me make some announcements, and then I will shut up. Hey! Volunteers. Can my volunteers put their hands in the air like they Moz help care? Give me some hands. Volunteers. Give it up for the volunteers. Give it up for the volunteers. We are grateful. We are grateful for the volunteers. And I'm just going to talk, this is going to get heavy for a second. There are some times at this event when people don't treat the volunteers with infinite love. There's the people that are like, I need a Post-it note stat. Or, even worse, can you get me a flat white right now with extra fluffy? Our humble ask, when you see a volunteer, thank them for existing. Thank them for doing what they do. Buy them a coffee. Do whatever you can do to appreciate these people that are donating this time for this event to be successful. You may see people wearing yellow lanyards. Look at you. That's a very striking yellow lanyard, and it matches your headgear. I love it. Yellow lanyards are a request to please not be photographed. Let us honor the yellow lanyard requests for photographic privacy. Hey, has anybody heard the rumors? There's a really wild, fun party tonight at the Royal Society. But to get in, you need a wristband. If you want to get a wristband, please stop by one of the info desks today and get your Saturday night party wristband. If you don't have a wristband, it's touch and go whether they'll let you in, and saying that you know people probably doesn't work. So please get a wristband, come on over to the Royal Society, and we will be grateful. Now, what I'm about to tell you requires memorization, and the good news is most of us will probably know the answer later. If you are a person who likes hot lunches, your lunch can be found on floors 4 and 7 during the lunchtime hour. Whereas if you're like me, a grab-and-go kind of person, and it's okay if it's in a box and not particularly warm, there'll be grab-and-go lunches on 0, 4, 7, and 9. So we've got it both ways, the sit down and enjoy a hot lunch or the have it on your lap somewhere else, but that's the lunch truth. This event would not be possible if it was not for the generosity of people that are sponsoring, and our sponsors are amazing. Friends, our presenting festival partner, there's no better virtual private network out there. I'm a happy user myself. Private Internet Access. Let's give it up for Private Internet Access. We thank you, Private Internet Access. You know, the Internet Society was doing internet governance before it was cool. Can we give it up for the Internet Society? Thank you, Internet Society. Our closing party partner, Justin, I love you, man. Sticker Mule. Give it up for Sticker Mule. You probably have one on your laptop now. And the Youth Zone partner, Samsung Internet. Thank you, Samsung Internet. All right, those are all the announcements. one other big appreciation that I hope that you will join me in making and conveying all weekend. We mentioned Space Wranglers. You see these banners hanging from about the building. There are people that since the spring have been working hard every week to create the experience that we'll have this weekend. They are the Space Wranglers. They have helped to identify and support the facilitators. It is an incredible commitment they have demonstrated. So as we bring Priyanka and Winnie up here, give them love on behalf of all Space Wranglers. Come on up, Priyanka and Winnie.
Thank you, Gunnar. Okay, so at Mozfest, all sessions are organized into themed spaces, mirroring the issues that are key to an open, healthy internet. These spaces were envisioned and curated by teams of community volunteers called Space Wranglers. So I think we feel very proud to say we are the co-creators of Mozfest. And yes, we deserve some love. I'll tell you why. Our last few months had been so awesome. We have had Saturday night video conferencing parties, curating hundreds of proposals and trying to choose the best to bring here. We have had Sunday morning brunches where we had kind of been sitting through hundreds of emails, trying to respond to everyone on time, trying to collect everyone's requirements, trying to put the list ready, get the list out to the production team. Last few months were awesome and very happening. And today we are here, looking forward to 2 more great days of organized chaos, because it's going to be chaotic. It's Mozfest. So, okay, let's give some love to the decentralization team who are up there. That space. The decentralization space is to discover a future where self-organization, consensus, and consent creates better tech and a more resilient internet. So, some love for Cade, Mark, Natasha, Ross, and Tendai. Okay, above them are the digital inclusion team. Explore tools, tech, design, and activism to bring new unheard voices and ideas to the web. So let's hear it for Zana, Carolina, Daniel, Eduardo, John, and Christine. Okay, here on the 7th floor, we have the openness team. Learn how working open can spark innovation in tech, education, research, journalism, and more. Let's hear it for David, Marcos, Mariano, Stefan, and Yo. Okay, right above them, we have the privacy and security team on the 9th floor. Delve into tools, policies, and practices to promote individual and community privacy online. We have David, Jen, Mehan, Mandy, and Tion. Okay, and if you see right here inside the library, we have the web literacy space. Understand and harness the possibilities of today's internet, whether you're a power user or a newcomer. And here we have Berhan, Geraldo, Juma, I'm Priyanka, we have Ryan and Vinny. Next, on the 2nd floor, we have the Youth Zone. Explore hands-on immersive experiences expressing young people's notion of what the internet can be. And let's hear it for Alan, Andrew, Chad, Dervla, Emrys, and we have more. Okay, Joseph, Mary Jubilee, Simon, and Tina. Thank you. I'll now hand it over to Vinny.
So on top of the spaces, we are going to explore Mozfest experiences. These are experiences woven throughout the festivals, are 3 unexpected, creative, thought-provoking ways to engage with the festival's ideas and theme. So we have Art Plus Data. Art Plus Data features artists in residence and creative, interactive sessions for artistic exploration for a healthy web. They are down here at mezzanine floor. So let's give it for Luca, Irini, and Angela. At the 5th floor, we have Gaming Mozfest. Tracked is a dynamic, large-scale game played by Mozfest attendees throughout the festival. Weekend exploring data surveillance and privacy. Sign up for that game at level 5, and right now they're not there because they're signing up people, but let's give it up for Ashlyn, Hang, and Rebecca. Then we have the Queering Mozfest experience. Drawing on a queer perspective, explore how internet issues intersect with gender, sexuality, and the processes of normalization and marginalization. We're going to find them at the 6th floor there. We have Sarah, Stephanie, and Manny. Then down here at the 1st floor, we have the Research Hub. This is to explore more from the researchers from the Internet Health Report. And we have Jairus handling that. On the same 1st floor, we have the Mozilla space, where we'll explore more about the Mozilla Fellows, grantees, trademarks, and talk to them about impact goals. We have Lenny, Lindsay, and Kalpana. Thank you so much, and let's show them a round of applause.
Thank you. Can we give it up for Priyanka and Winnie? Thank you both. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, one last thing. This requires all hands on deck. Can I ask you, if you're on the edge, be coming this way. All come on in. Fill this, fill this, fill this. Oh my God, look who's here. Can you give it up for the Fox? Give it up for the Fox. Folks, come on in and fill the front. I beg of you, come on in. I need to fill this front area. Please, we need warm bodies. Fill this hallway. Everybody, come on, don't be cool. Come on in, come on in. In the back, I got space for all of you up here. Come on, that's right. I saved front row seats for you. Come on up here. Come on in. This is awesome. And if you're wearing a yellow lanyard and would like to respectfully step out, now would be a fine time. Come on in and get down on the knees. Get close together. Pack in close. Pack in close. Keep coming in. Keep coming in. Come on in. Fill this area here. This is awesome. This is amazing. All right. And I will go right there, D's. So if you want to go just a little over. Awesome. All right. Come on in. This is good. This is great. Can I get people in those chairs? Can I put humans in those chairs? It'll look better that way. Any empty chairs? All right. Friends, thank you. How many people here have survived this process before? Anybody? Yeah, thank you for doing it again. What we're about to do is make pixels of passionate internet health love. We're going to make the Mozilla Festival group photograph. I ask you, work with me. I need creativity. I need passion. I need commitment to this thespian process. We're going to do 3 photographs, and we're going to do them all as a team efficiently. Let's give it up for Eric, our photographer. Thank you, Eric. Yeah, baby. The first photograph is a photograph of absolute commitment. We're going to make serious faces. We're going to look up at Eric, and we're going to make serious, we're serious about internet health. Everybody look up at Eric. Let's turn around and look up. All right, Fox, let's look up. All right, friends, just look super serious at Eric. We are serious about internet health. We are committed. Look at Eric. Give it up. Super serious. Super serious. All right, one down. Now, the next one, this is the one that requires coordination. I'm going to count 30, 20, 10, and we're going to pretend, no matter what your values are on sports, that some team that you love is about to score. So, 30, your hands are at your hips. 20, they're at your shoulders. 10, they're at your ears. And then go. Can we do this? All right, so practice round. Ready? 30, they're down here. 20, they're here. 10, they're here. Go. All right, now you got to go slow. I know the adrenaline kicks in, but go slow. So everybody, 30 down at your hips. 30. Yeah, big smiles. Yeah, big smiles. Yeah, 30 is good. 30 is good. And Eric's going to do something to tell us to go to 20. All right, 20 at the shoulders. 20 at the shoulders. Oh, yeah. Goodness gracious. Yeah, all right. 10 at the ears. 10 at the ears. 10 at the ears. Goal! All right, last one. Last one. All right. And here's what's about to happen. I'm going to ask all of you to do an unreasonable thing, and I need you to do it, okay? What is next Wednesday? Halloween. That's correct. Get that person a T-shirt. So here's what's up. I need all of us to make our wildest Halloween face, okay? Like, let me show you mine. It'll be like, ah! When I do this back home, my niece and my nephew tell me that's not scary. But what I need you to do is not go back to that first. Practice with me. Give it up, all right? On 3, I want your scary, freaky faces. 1, 2, 3. Ah! Very good. Now, again, hold it because we need multiple options, okay? On your mark, get set, ah! Beautiful people, we're done. Thank you. Let's get to the spaces. Let's start this festival. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Go, 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 go.